Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Loving obeisances unto the Supreme Being Vasudeva, who is everything there is. Janmadyasya yato anvayaditaratascha artheshu abhignaswarat tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsurayah tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi. We meditate upon the transcendent absolute being from whom springs forth this universe. He is present in all that exists and yet distinct from everything. He is fully conscious and totally independent. He revealed to the first seer Brahma the import of Vedic wisdom. The material creation, made of threefold gunas, appears in him as though real, like water in a mirage. Being eternally self-effulgent, he is ever free of the illusion Maya of the material world. We meditate upon him, the Supreme Being. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam shukamukadamritadrava sanyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. O devotees who relish a taste for divine love, Bhagavatam is the fully ripened fruit of the wish-yielding tree of Vedas, flowing as immortal nectar from Shuka Brahma Rishi. Go on drinking the sweet nectar day after day. So now we are entering the fourth skandha of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have finished the first three skandhas and we are in the first chapter of the fourth skandha. As we saw in the second skandha towards the end, it described the topics of the 10 skandhas coming forward, starting from 3rd all the way to 12th. So 3rd skandha's topic was given as Sarga or creation, and therefore we saw the aspect of creation, of how Brahma brought forth the initial set of beings, and also the way the earth was restored by Varaha in order for created beings to flourish, and also the principle of creation itself through Kapila's teachings as Purusha and Prakriti. Now we are entering the fourth sarga, which is called Visarga. Visarga is the creation of the secondary beings, that is the primary creation of Brahma himself, and through him the original Prajapatis and the Rishis that came in the 3rd skandha. Now their progeny, the progeny of the various Rishis and the Prajapatis and the stories that come through them is the topic of this skandha, the 4th skandha. As always, through all these various beings, what is brought forth is the highest wisdom. So specific beings are taken forth, or stories are taken forth from these progeny of created beings, and thereby the highest teaching of Jnana and Bhakti comes forth in every skandha. But the overall topic of this skandha is Visarga, or the secondary creation. So with this we begin the first chapter. So Maitreya continues his discourse to Vidura. The entire 3rd and 4th skandha is narrated by Maitreya to Vidura, which in turn, as we have seen, is reported by Shuka Brahma Rishi to Parikshit, which in turn is narrated by Suta Maharishi to Shaunakadi Rishis in Naimisharanya. So Maitreya begins the 4th skandha by saying that Swayambhuva Manu had, as we know, 2 sons, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, and he had 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. So we saw in detail the story of Devahuti, through whom Kapila avatar came, and the teachings also describing creation and the discrimination that can arise through understanding creation. Now, Maitreya continues by giving the full history of all the daughters and their progeny, and through whom various wonderful stories will emerge in this skandha. So he says the first daughter Akuti was given to Ruchi. So there is this great Rishi or Prajapati called Ruchi, who was given the hand of Akuti, And through them, a pair of beings came, it is said. They are called as Yajna and Dakshina. Yajna is sacrifice, and Dakshina is the fee that is offered to commemorate a sacrifice or to honor a sacrifice. So, this is verily the form of the Lord Himself. That is why Yajna is always considered the form of Vishnu. And it is said that there is a personification of Yajna and Dakshina as a pair of beings that came out, Vishnu and his consort Lakshmi, and through them the principle of Yajna and Dakshina was established, and thereby it continues, whereby the very act of Yajna, which is sacrifice, which is to make something sacred, invokes the presence of the Supreme Lord, and to pay fees for it is the proper use of wealth, Dakshina, that is Lakshmi. Then it is said that from them came forth 12 sons who are all very great beings who held various positions. Their names are given, and their names are all very symbolic too. Tosha, Pratosha, Santosha, Bhadra, and so on. So Tosha, Pratosha, and Santosha all refer to contentment, which is what arises out of doing sacrifice. Bhadra then refers to auspiciousness or blessedness. Shanti is peace. Kavi is wisdom. Vibhu is glory. So these are all the names of the various 12 sons of Yajna and Dakshina, which again symbolize the various qualities that emerge out of doing sacrifice. So these are again personified and said that these 12 sons came from Yajna and Dakshina. And then they held various offices in the Manvantara of Swayambhuva. And after that, it is referred to, or rather uh, the narration refers to Devahuti next. It is said that Devahuti is married to Kardama, which we already saw. So Maitreya says to Vidura, you've already heard in great detail the story of the marriage of Kardama and Devahuti. So that is the second daughter. Just for completion, he states Akuti is the first daughter who, along with Ruchi, gives forth Yajna and Dakshina, and from them the various 12 sons, which are 12 wonderful qualities of contentment, peace, blessedness, all come forth through sacrifice and using wealth for sacrifice, which is the symbolism of the first daughter Akuti's progeny. Then the second daughter Devahuti, we already saw, Kapila, the great rishi, and also we saw that they had 9 daughters, and they were mentioned already in the third skandha briefly, but now these 9 daughters are given in great detail also, just to complete the story. So as we saw, the 9 daughters were given to the 9 sages who were all born out of Brahma. The 8 sages are Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Bhrigu, and Vasishta. And the 9th is Daksha, who is a Prajapati. The 9 daughters of Kardama and Devahuti are again mentioned. Kala is the wife of Marichi, and Marichi in turn gave birth to Kashyapa and Purnima. And we already saw briefly about Kashyapa, the sage who is the original sage from whom the land of Kashmir has come, and who also, along with Diti, gave birth to Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, who are Jaya and Vijaya. And Hiranyaksha's extermination was already detailed. Hiranyakashipu's story will come much later. So this is Kashyapa and then Purnima. These two came from the marriage of Kala and Marichi. And Purnima, it is said, gave birth to Viraja and Vishwaga, as well as a daughter Devakulya, who became the river Ganga. The second is Atri. Atri's wife is Anasuya. We again already saw that. And Anasuya gave birth to 3 sons, it is said. Along with Atri, they are Datta, Durvasa, and Soma, or the moon. Maitreya says these three respectively represent part manifestations of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Brahma's representation is moon, Vishnu's representation is Dattatreya, and Shiva's representation is Durvasa. So these three were the sons of Atri and Anasuya. So Vidura asks, how come they got three sons who were the three manifestations of the three beings or the three lords of creation, sustenance, and dissolution? So Maitreya tells a brief story again, where he says Atri, the great Rishi, along with Anasuya, they were told to multiply creation, so they went to do tapas. This is one thing we see in common. Even Kardama did great penance in order to marry Devahuti and then have those 9 daughters and then Kapila. So the right way to have progeny is not for simply mindlessly gratifying oneself or to extend one's own idea of family, but for the welfare of the whole universe. So it is with this attitude that the rishis engaged in procreation. So they first engaged in great austerity so that their mind is purified and the right consciousness emerges from which children are born. So Kardama did the same, Atri does the same here. Atri, along with Anasuya, do great tapas in a very beautiful mountain which has great forests and trees and flowers, and a beautiful river called Nirvindhya flows there. It's a very serene place, and there it is said that Atri did pranayama, breath control, and remained standing on one foot for a long time without any food and taking equanimously heat and cold, all pairs of opposites. So this is the great penance he did. And his only prayer was that may I be blessed with the Supreme Lord as my own offspring. So just as Kardama prayed in his austerity, in his tapas, so does Atri. And because of his great prayer, he was glorified, the whole place was filled with light. And then it is said that in front of him appeared three deities on a swan, an eagle, and a bull. The swan or Hamsa represents the vehicle of Brahma, the eagle Garuda represents the vehicle of Vishnu, and the bull Nandi represents the vehicle of Shiva. And they came with their characteristic marks, the Kamandalu or the water pot, which is the mark of Brahma, the discus or the Sudarshana Chakra, the mark of Vishnu, and the trident or Trishula, the mark of Shiva. So all three of them appeared in front of the great sage Atri, and immediately he opened his eyes, beholding this light. He fell at their feet and he offered them articles of worship like water and flowers. He was very happy to see their gracious look, and he was very pleased and he praised them. And then he spoke to them. He said, "You are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva who have taken on this personality in order to take care of creation, sustenance, and dissolution of the universe. But I am confused because I called for the Supreme Being to be manifest as my offspring, but all three of you have appeared. How did you all come here? Be pleased to tell me the secret." And then it is said the three great beings of creation, sustenance, and dissolution said that we three together represent the truth. So this is an important teaching, that there is no division between the deities because all deities are manifestation of the same Supreme Being, and therefore Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva together, the three great devatas, say that we three together represent the truth on which you contemplated. The Supreme Being is all three of us, and therefore we will be born to you as three sons, which are three rays coming from us. So here, as we saw, the Supreme Being Vasudeva, who is everything there is, who is all there is, he alone brings forth Brahma from him for the purpose of creation. He himself appears as Vishnu for sustenance, and he from him comes forth Shiva for dissolution. And therefore, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva are all the same essential supreme being, which is Vasudeva. And therefore, they say that we are all the supreme being, and we as three rays will enter the womb of Anasuya, your wife, and bring forth three sons. And these three sons in turn were the moon god, which is the portion of Brahma, Dattatreya, who is a great master of yoga, who is Vishnu, and Durvasa, who is a great sage, who is Shiva. Dattatreya is a great jnani, and he gave the Avadhuta Gita. He is established in wisdom, and therefore his appearance was to give the highest teaching of jnana. Durvasa, being of the form of Shiva, is known for anger, because Shiva, being the deity presiding over dissolution, brings forth an energy that is mixed with anger, and this anger is of course very benevolent, unlike the egoic anger, because Durvasa too, his actions always bring forth something very auspicious, even though on the face of it may appear to be angry. For instance, there are many stories involving Durvasa, one of which we saw alluded to before, where he was about to curse the Pandavas, but Krishna saved them, and thereby Krishna's glory was brought forth. Similarly, there is a story of Durvasa getting angry at Ambarisha, a great sagely king, and thereby the greatness of devotion of the king is brought forth. So Durvasa, being a manifestation or an amsha of Shiva, is known to be angry, and yet benevolently angry, that brings forth auspiciousness. So these are the three sons of Atri, who was the second Rishi. Then the third Rishi is Angira. So we saw Marichi first, who is the first Rishi who married Kala, and from whom Kashyapa came, and Purnima. Second is Atri, from whom three sons who are Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, as Moon, Dattatreya, and Durvasa have come. And then third is Angira. Angira is married to Shraddha, who's the third daughter of Devahuti and Kardama, and from them 4 daughters are born, it is said. Their names are given: Sinivali, Kuhu, Rakha, and Anumati. Then they also had a couple of sons who are Utathya and Brhaspati. Brhaspati is very significant because he represents the planet Jupiter. He is the principle of Guru. He is considered the Guru of all Devatas, all divine beings. And even the day Thursday in Sanskrit is named after Brhaspati. It's called Brhaspativar or Guruvar. Both are the same because he represents Guru. And so this Brhaspati is the son of Angira and Shraddha, which is the third Rishi. The fourth Rishi is Pulastya. So we have seen Marichi, Atri, Angira, now Pulastya. Pulastya has his wife Havirbhu, and from them first was born Agastya, the great Rishi Agastya. Agastya is a very well-known Rishi. His place is there in the Himalayas even today, called Agastya Muni, on the way to Badrinath. He traveled all the way to the south, it is said, and he helped Ram during his avatar in many ways. And he also traveled south, and he is known to have spawned the language Tamil, which is therefore a very ancient language. And so this is Agastya, the son of Pulastya. Then Pulastya also had another sage called Vishrava as his son. And from Vishrava came 2 important beings. One is Kubera. Kubera is considered the lord of riches, and therefore everyone prays to Kubera who are interested in wealth. And of course, that prayer to Kubera is rooted in partial understanding. This is already condemned by Bhagavatam in the second Skandha, where it is said that people who go to different deities for different petty things are always caught in the cycle of time. The ones who directly go to the Supreme Being alone get out of the clutches of time. But not knowing this, many are drawn to Kubera for wealth and they thereby get bound. And Kubera's brother or Vishrava's um, other son, in fact, they had three sons. Vishrava had three sons through another wife, and they are Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. So that's why Ravana is a brother of Kubera. And Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana are the three sons who are essential to Ramayana, as many know. And they in turn represent the three modes of guna, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Vibhishana, being a very pious, calm person, is representing sattva. Ravana, being very passionate and angry, is rajas. And Kumbhakarna, who is always given to sleep and sloth, is tamas. So these three sons, along with Kubera, were born to Vishrava. And this is the reason why Ravana is so wealthy too, because Kubera is his own brother, and he is known to have had Pushpaka Vimana, the aerial flight that with all opulences and so on. So these are all the sons of Pulastya, the fourth Rishi. Fifth is Pulaha, and Pulaha's wife was called Gati, and they had three sons. It is said Karmashreshta, Variyan, and Sahishnu. And then Maitreya continues and says the next Rishi is Kratu, and Kratu was given the wife Kriya, the next daughter of Devahuti and Kardama. And through Kratu and Kriya, many sages, lots of sages came forth, all with a spiritual glow, it is said. So this is how the progenies were built by all these rishis and their progeny who were all sages. And of course there were personalities like Ravana too coming forth. Kubera for wealth, Ravana for all kinds of evil he does, so that the whole play of the universe goes forth with all the three gunas. But predominantly, many of the progeny are situated in wisdom, and so all the sons of Kratu and Kriya are sages. Then next is Vasishta. Vasishta was married to Arundhati, and Arundhati and Vasishta gave forth seven sons. They are called Chitraketu, Surochi, Viraja, Mitra, Ulbana, Vasubradhyana, and Dyuman. So these are also great personalities. And then he also had another son called Shakti by another wife. And Shakti is very significant because Vasishta's son Shakti is what gives forth to Parashara and through him to Vyasa. So that's why there is a verse for glorifying Vyasa which says Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram Shakte Pautram Akalmasham Parasharatmajam Vande Shukatatam Taponidim. It says Vyasam Vasishtanaptaram. He is the great grandson of Vasishta. Shakte Pautram, grandson of Shakti. Parasharatmajam, he is the son of Parashara, and I offer my obeisances unto him. So Vyasa is the great grandson of Vasishta, and because he is the grandson of Shakti, and Shakti gave birth to Parashara, and Parashara to Vyasa. So this Shakti is born of Vasishta, and that's the other son. Then there is Shanti, the other daughter, who was married to Atharva, and Shanti and Atharva gave birth to a son called Dadichi and also Ashvashira. And then finally there is the Rishi Bhrigu, who is a very well-known Rishi. He was married to Khyati. And Khyati and Bhrigu had two sons, Dhata and Vidhata, and then a daughter called Shri, who is a part manifestation of Lakshmi. And it is said it's important because they give birth to a great sage in their line called Markandeya, because Dhata and Vidhata were married to two girls, Ayati and Niyati, and through Ayati and Niyati, Dhata and Vidhata respectively had Mrikanda and Prana, and Mrikanda in turn gave birth to Markandeya. And that's why Markandeya is a very famous rishi, and his lineage is given here, and his story will be briefly coming later too in Bhagavatam. Then a great sage called Vedashira was born from Prana. So the two are Dhata and Ayati gave Mrkanda, and Vidhata and Prana gave Vedashira, and Mrkanda gave Markandeya, as we said. And Bhrigu also had another son called Kavi who gave birth to Shukracharya. Shukracharya is also well known as the preceptor or the guru for the Rakshasa. So we saw Brhaspati, who is the guru for the divine beings. Shukracharya is the guru for the demons. And from him has come forth philosophies such as Charuvaka, which are hedonism and so on. And so many such philosophies are also there in the entire Vedic canon. So there is nothing new under the sun, as it is said. Even the highest form of hedonism is found in the Vedic canon, because the guru of the demons, Shukracharya, teaches Charuvaka philosophy, which is hedonism, which is to simply enjoy sense pleasures, and which is what many are attracted to. This was given, but it was also clearly thereby implied that it's the way of the demons which leads to destruction. So, thus, Maitreya concludes by saying, I have told you the 9 daughters of Kardama and how they were all married to these 9 beings, and through them who are all the great progeny that came. So we saw through this narration, though it is a very long narration of various names, many of which we may not remember, but there are a few names that are worth remembering that came, which are Kashyapa, the great Rishi, coming from Marichi, or Atri giving birth to Dattatreya, or Vasishta giving birth to Shakti, who in turn gives Vyasa, Pulastya giving birth to, through his son, to both Kubera and Ravana and his brothers. So these are all the, and then Brhaspati, the guru of the divine beings, and Shukracharya, the guru of the demons, coming through these lines, and also Markandeya, the sage, coming. So these are all the prominent beings that are important, and there are many others who are mentioned too, as we saw in this line. After that, he comes finally to Daksha, because these are the 9 rishis, and then Daksha is not a rishi, he is a Prajapati, and he was given the third daughter, Prasuti. So we saw, going back to Swayambhuva Manu, he had 3 daughters, Akuti, Devahuti, Prasuti. Akuti was given to Ruchi again, from whom Yajna and Dakshina came, we saw that. And then from Devahuti was this long lineage, because Devahuti had 9 daughters with Kardama, along with Kapila, of course. And Kapila gave the teachings and went away as a sage. But the 9 daughters married these 9 rishis. And we saw through those 9 daughters and the rishis, the great beings that came. And then the third daughter, along with Akuti and Devahuti, was Prasuti, and she is given to Daksha, who is a mind-born son of Brahma and who is a Prajapati. And so this is important, because the next major story of 4th Skandha is Daksha Yajna, the sacrifice done by Daksha, and the glory of Lord Shiva that comes through that. This is a very famous story that will be the next few chapters of this 4th Skandha. So we are leading up to that by talking about Daksha. So Daksha and Prasuti, it is said, had 16 daughters, and 13 of them he married to Dharma. So Dharma is the deity personifying righteousness, and therefore he gives them 13. And all these names are symbolic, because all of these are qualities of Dharma. So Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya, Unnati, Buddhi, Meda, Titiksha, Hri, and Murti. So every name is significant. Shraddha is earnestness, Maitri is friendship, Daya is compassion, Shanti is peace, Tushti is contentment, Pushti is nourishment, Kriya is right action, Unnati is development, Buddhi is intelligence, Medha is wisdom, Titiksha is forbearance. So in this manner, all these various wonderful qualities is what is represented by these daughters, and these 13 daughters are taken as consorts of dharma, and in turn they give birth to great qualities which are personified too, such as Shubha, Maitri, Abhaya, and so on, which are again qualities of auspiciousness, grace, fearlessness, and so on. So there is a lot of symbolism involved here when we speak about the 13 daughters who are married to Dharma, and the names of each of those daughters represent a great quality that is aligned with Dharma, as we see. And the children they bring forth are also great qualities that are necessary for Dharma to prosper. And then it is said that Murti, one of their wives of Dharma, brings forth two wonderful sages, Nara and Narayana. This is very special because Nara and Narayana represent the most divine sages, and they represent the highest principle of meditation. They are said to be meditating eternally in the Himalayas, and so it is said that when Nara and Narayana appeared, the whole place became very tranquil. The heavens were showering rain, and all the beings offered praises, and all the devatas, all the deities glorified by saying obeisance to the Supreme Being who has manifested through his own Maya in the house of Dharma as Nara and Narayana. So in the house of Dharma, which is righteousness, with his wife Murti is born the two great sages Nara and Narayana. So the sages and the deities are glorifying by saying, may there be great glory and obeisances offered to the Supreme Being coming as Nara and Narayana. And then they say, may he, whose nature cannot be determined by us and who has created all of us with an eye of compassion, may he, as Nara and Narayana, put an end to all disturbance in this world by bringing forth the wisdom and compassion that is necessary for all humans and all beings of the universe. So thus they glorify the two beings Nara and Narayana, and in fact it is said that Nara and Narayana are indeed Arjuna and Krishna too. So when Krishna appears, he is Narayana and Nara is Arjuna. So they together manifest as Krishna and Arjuna too in the Dwapara Yuga. And therefore, the Supreme Being Vasudeva, who appears as Nara and Narayana, also appears as Krishna and Arjuna in order to execute the pastimes of Dwapara Yuga. That's why in the very beginning of Bhagavatam, there is a verse which is there in Mahabharata too, where both Nara and Narayana are glorified. It is said, Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam. So Narayana and Nara are both worshipped. And then of course Saraswati is invoked in order for Bhagavatam to be recited by Vedavyasa. Then it is said that the two divine sages Nara and Narayana left for the mountain of Gandhamadana, and they are known to be engaged in penance there for a long time. Then after the 13 daughters are described, so Daksha, as we said, had 16 daughters, 13 of them married to Dharma. Then the 14th one was given to Agni, which is the deity for fire. She is called Swaha. So Swaha is basically what we always say when we offer anything into Agni. So symbolically, Swaha is considered the spouse of the fire deity Agni, and they are known to have given forth 3 sons Pavaka, Pavamana and Shuchi. And again, these represent purity. All three, Pavaka, Pavamana and Shuchi, all represent purity. So when we offer something to fire, what comes forth is purity from the sacrificial offerings, and that's what this represents. The next daughter is Swadha, who is given to Pitrus or the mains, it is said. And then the last daughter, which is the most important, is Sati, who is Parvati and who is given as the consort to Shiva. So, this is what is going to be the content of the next few chapters, which is given here as the last ending of this chapter, that Sati was the last daughter of Daksha. So 13 daughters were given to Dharma, 14th daughter to Agni or fire, 15th to Pitrus or the mains, and the 16th, the last, to Shiva. And the 16th daughter of Daksha is Sati. And Sati is the one who in turn becomes Parvati. And how Sati becomes Parvati and becomes the eternal consort of Shiva is the story of the next few chapters, which is called Daksha Yajna. Through Daksha Yajna, what happens and how Sati thereby becomes Parvati is going to be given, and through this the great teachings of what comes forth through the story of Daksha Yajna and the glory of Lord Shiva will come. Here it is mentioned as a brief note that Sati did not get any children with Shiva, but while young, she dropped her own body by the dint of yoga in a spirit of indignation against her own father. So the hint is given, which will in turn make Vidura ask more about it. But this is the essence of the story that's given as a hint, that Sati was married to Shiva. They did not have any offspring because while being very young, Sati, through yoga, dropped her own body because she was very unhappy at her own father Daksha disrespecting her husband, who is the great Lord Shiva. And why this happened, why Daksha disrespected Lord Shiva, and what happens to Sati, and what all this signifies spiritually, what is the spiritual symbolism behind this great story, will all be unfolded over the next few chapters. So with this chapter ends. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.